Well, when war broke out in 1775, not many of the colonists wanted independence. They were actually just fighting for a redress of grievances, and those who did want independence were considered very, very radical. But as fighting continued into early 1776, Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet known as Common Sense, talking about the reasons that colonists should break from Great Britain. So on June 7th of that year, 1776, the Continental Congress, Richard Henry Lee, one day while they were meeting, introduced a resolution to declare independence. And so a committee of 5 was put together and commissioned to write a formal statement declaring our independence. Those 5 men were Thomas Jefferson, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and Robert Livingston. And they began the document like this: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And they arrived at this preamble because they believed in God and that He was the creator of all things. But they also borrowed a lot of ideas from a man named John Locke, a philosopher who wrote about the natural rights. He said that they were life, liberty, and property. The founders of our country took out property and added pursuit of happiness because they didn't want anybody to believe that they were entitled to the government giving them property, but rather they could use their pursuit of happiness to get that property. On July 2nd of 1776, the delegates voted to declare independence from Great Britain. On July 4th, they formally adopted the Declaration of Independence, formally declaring our independence. And it wasn't lost on these men what they were doing. That's treason against one of the strongest empires to ever exist in the history of the world. President Truman spoke to this on July 4th when he said, "America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and on unbeatable determination to do the job at hand." John Adams, one of those 5 that wrote the Declaration of Independence, would actually decline invitations to July 4th gatherings because he believed that it should be July 2nd, the day that they voted to declare independence, not the day that they accepted the Declaration of Independence. And he wrote to his wife that July 2nd will be celebrated by generations as a great anniversary festival, and that the celebration would include pomp and parade, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other. That quote always reminds me of another American thinker, Jim Gaffigan, who said about July 4th cookouts,
"Most of us use holidays so we can eat more. I normally don't have a burger, a brat, and a steak, but it is 4th of July. It's what the founding fathers would want."
So in 1870, the United States Congress made July 4th a federal holiday, and in 1941, that provision was extended to include a paid work day or a paid holiday to all federal employees. So today we celebrate freedom. Freedom's not cheap. FDR said, in the truest sense, freedom cannot be bestowed, it must be achieved. Freedom, however, can be lost. Ronald Reagan said it this way: "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." So the United States is undoubtedly the greatest country on the planet. We should love it, we should fight for it, and we should enjoy its freedoms. But this country, however, does have its problems. Why? It isn't because of how it was created. It isn't because its creation wasn't calculated. It's because it's run by a flawed race, the human race. But there is a kingdom greater, God's kingdom. Our allegiance to it should be unwavering. Just as freedom is never more than a generation away from dying out, neither is God's kingdom here on earth. We need to pass it on to the next generation as well. So today, on Independence Day, we should remember those who put their lives on the line to declare independence for us. We should pass freedom on to the younger generations and use that freedom to expand the idea that our Creator, God, gave it to us.